Welcome everybody, my name is Michael and today we're discussing about the Thodex CEO. Last year he stole more than 2 billion euros from a Turkish cryptocurrency exchange. This was the founder and CEO, and many employees were already arrested. Turkey is taking this very seriously, so seriously in fact that even though he was in Albania, where we know there's a lot of corrupt cops and whatnot, Interpol got involved because obviously Turkey's, doing stuff with Europe, and he was busted in the third largest city in Albania. And this guy, again, in a very poor country where with so much money you were able to easily probably buy protection. Albania is maybe not the best choice. You could probably find some better places to hide out, but still, the fact that he was busted just shows that Turkey is very serious. He is going to be facing over 40,617 years in prison for all the charges, and I don't know if it was worth it, considering he probably only had a limited amount of time to have fun with that money. A lot of people were impacted by this. A lot of people are going to jail for some very serious terms, and Turkey's prisons are probably not the best, so I'm sure there's a lot worse, but I would not want to go there. The country itself is beautiful, but I wouldn't want to go to a Turkish prison. With this crime, there's been some crypto criminals and potentially people like Do Kwon who are still, nobody knows where they are. Oh my gosh, my face is all red. I'm so hot. It is September and we have it's gonna be 88 degrees on Sunday, high 80s today. Wow. So it is insane that there are still people out there who are easily able for the rest of their life to have this generational wealth, and then it's passed down and down, and eventually once it gets to your family members and you're dead and enough time has passed, that money, it's gone. See ya, goodbye. Whether it's dirty or clean, nobody will care at a certain point, especially in some of these countries in Southeast Asia specifically where people flee to, or South America. There's places you won't be disturbed if you have enough money and the right people are paid off and you know what you're doing. If you're silly about everything, that's when you might be facing a lot of jail time and have a very uncomfortable situation where no matter how much money you stole, it wouldn't have been worth it. So he was busted in Vlol, I think that's how you say it, Vlol, I'm sorry, in Albania. 400,000 clients of Thodex were affected by this out of 700,000 clients. That ends the saga with Thodex. Turkey is not a country you want to mess with. This was an exchange operating since 2017. In 2021 it shut down, and for about a year or so he was on the lam. Turkey increased their policies in 2021 just because too many companies, cryptocurrency exchanges, started using as their base. Probably because at the time it was a great place one of the better places to host a cryptocurrency exchanges. Unfortunately, the more wealthier countries of the world are going backwards, and the regulation is too stringent, and no one wants to have a cryptocurrency exchange here because sooner or later you will be affected negatively by this. However, if you set up in a country where things might be a little bit sketchier, not too sketchy, but just the right amount, you're able to make a lot of money. And it's funny because crimes are punished so severely in some countries, and in others, the idea of reform is completely different, such as Norway, Sweden, the Scandinavian countries, but also in Germany, there's some special prisons, and in the Netherlands, there's been some things a lot worse than just stealing money, where people have been able to reform correctly instead of having to go back through the prison cycle. Do I think he deserves a life sentence for this? I will have to say no. I don't think any financial fraud deserves a life sentence. That might be controversial, but even someone such as Bernie Madoff, where it's not fair for some people to get 10 years, some people to get 15, some people to get 1 year probation, whatever, and some people to get 200, 500, 1,000 years. It just doesn't make sense to me. For a crime that is non-violent, yes, it does impact so many people. It ruins people's lives. Some people might not have had money for life-changing surgery, They might have had cancer. They might have, you know, they're no longer here because they decided to go down a path that they otherwise wouldn't have if they weren't affected by this. There's a lot of victims. It's not a victimless crime. It's a terrible, heinous thing. However, there's just such discrepancies even within America itself, you know, for-profit prisons and whatnot, and that's a completely different topic. However, it just doesn't make sense to me that in one area of the world, for the same exact crime, exact same thing, you might get 10 years, and another you might get 5, and another you're going to get a life sentence with 40,000, facing 40,000 years. So I think there's better ways to punish these people. I think there has to be better ways of recovering the funds for the victims, and throwing someone in prison for the rest of their life, even though we might be rejoiced about that, yes, he's a criminal, there's bad implications of it. And one of them is definitely for the taxpayers, just even paying for their visit, for their food, for their stay. It's like a little hotel, except it's not a pleasant hotel. It's like the worst motel you could find on Yelp. However, you're still paying for it. In many cases, it's a lot of money. And you got a lot of these white-collar criminals. So, I don't know. It's just something to think about. What do you think should happen to the Thodex CEO? How much money can get recovered? In many cases, not much. And if he was smart, he's probably going to use it as a bargaining chip for getting into a plea deal with good terms, potentially getting out of prison if he still has a lot of that money locked away somewhere in crypto, and otherwise, you know, nobody's going to be able to get access to it. But I don't know how things work in Turkey, so maybe they might still be able to do some unconventional methods to try and get access to that money. But again, if someone doesn't want to give up their keys, if he did the right thing, if he knows what he's doing, it's going to be very difficult to get that money back. Obviously, a lot of it was probably spent. Maybe some of it was already laundered, and percentages were lost just for that, and transaction fees and whatnot. And maybe, you know, some mules have part of the money. It's very interesting whenever these giant scams happen. We're talking about billions of euros. It's huge amounts, and it will continue to happen. There's got to be better ways to prevent it, but there's also got to be better ways to punish these people. Obviously, this discourages others. I mean, this is crazy. There's a small chance that if you want money, you will become a billionaire. Obviously, for a person who doesn't care about money, they're not going to be really attracted to it. But for the average person, it's going to be very difficult to reach those sums. However, the average person, if you want money, you got decent chances to become a millionaire. And would you rather be a millionaire legally? Yes, you're going to have to work hard and whatnot. Would you rather have a free life, at least for the later years? Or would you rather have 100 times or 1,000 times more money and boats and you know, you could buy the Lamborghini factory and all this, but for 2 years, and then you go to prison, or, you know, the police catch you and whatnot? So it's definitely something to think about. But that's the video. Thanks for watching.